Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome as the SRF Warriors head to the land of the rising sun in the backdrop of a certain prolific mountain. We head to Fuji Speedway, the iconic start-finish straight. Really dominates this track. Will it dominate racing tonight? Well, we don't have long to find out. I am Tim Cox with Charles Bashal and Lewis Araya in the virtual production trailer. Charles, I mean, talking about it off just before the show, weren't we, about this track, and, well, provides numerous different challenges, but for me, as I was just saying in the build-up there, it's that straight. It's what this track's known for, and under racing conditions, that's, I think, is going to be the real sort of hot point, whether people maybe get a bad exit coming out the final turn Panasonic, and then actually, despite getting overtaken, manage to get back in front again, potentially by the time they get to turn one. It's going to be fascinating to see how this one plays out.
Hey, Tim, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I think this was 1.2 kilometers long for this front straight. So yeah, you could actually have somebody behind you get a tow, get past, and then you can actually just pass them back before you get to the end of this. And it's just going to be, I was watching practice earlier. I was looking at the chicane that you might see on the screen now. And I saw some chicane shenanigans going on. It looked like people were having a little bit of trouble handling the curbs. As we know, these cars, sometimes the curbs will just bite you. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting type of race because you've got a very technical section and then you've got a very fast section. So it's going to be a very big challenge for each driver to try and master.
Oh, it definitely is indeed. And to be shown by that, Gasper's already, qualifying just going on right now, is currently lying all the way down in 9. Let's take a look at the championship standings before we get deep into proceedings. Speak some else leading the way in Spec 1. And now putting up a bit of a healthy advantage over Marco Panero, Gustavo Ariel. Those 2 victories to his name. So only attending 2 out of the 3 races so far. That's why he's currently lying third with his teammate Castro in 4th. Another Brazilian. The trio there, Vandre Dantas, Gaspers, he is in 6th with West Green, Blever and Elson running out your top 10. That point onward, it is incredibly close. Spec 2 sees Alan McCain leading the way. He's really reinvigorated this season. Found a lot of form in these cars. Great to see from the Northern Irishman. Johnson Kramer, he's currently lying in 2nd, well adrift, but it's incredibly tight behind him between Berry, Jackson, Montgomery, Gibson, Walbort, with some 18 points covering second, all the way down to 7th. Then a gap opening up between Walbot and Fisher in 8th, with Pocock and Justice running at the top 10, and just behind Fisher. Into Masters, well, it's Yugmani leading the way there and starting to open up a bit of a gap over Antonio Rice. 23 points even deficits that Rice has to overcome. Still playing in the season left. Murakami starting to drop off a little bit. He's 11 points behind Rice. Then Nunes in a little pool by himself on 172 with Gradwell. Bradshaw only separated by 4 points, and then as close as you like from that back one was Ken Vaccaro, Brewster, and Brad Cathcart can round out your top 10 there. And a slightly smaller grid to hear today due to it being Easter Sunday. Happy Easter to all of you watching along here today. I say that the small grid. I need to insert the caveat, Charles, for this series, because we've still got 34 drivers who've set times so far. There's 3 that are yet to set times. One being Andrea Spitoni, he never does, always starts from the back. Jeff Horniak, he's had 1 time deleted, hasn't come out again. And Gustavo Ariel has yet to set a time. He was out in practice, not sure whether he was joining us, because he's always wanting to qualify, and we'll see right at the sharp end.
Yeah, it is kind of surprising to see Gustavo way down at the bottom as we see a car spinning. I'm trying to figure out what you're going to do with all the extra time with the shortened grid when we're doing the call outs at the beginning of the lap, because you're going to have 2 or 3 minutes left.
Well, hopefully we only have a shortened pace lap here today, because with the smaller grid, it'll fit in nicely. But
I think so.
We've got plenty of time. So qualifying, 5.5 minutes remaining on the clock out of the 20. Marco Panero is your current pole sitter with a 154.138. And those are crucial numbers at the end, those last 2 digits, because Julio Castro, who's really improved, come on leaps and bounds in recent season. There is the Brazilian. He's currently second, just joining Panero on the front row, but he is, some 400ths of a second behind Panero right now. Hundredths, not tenths, hundreds. That's what we deal with in the SRF Weekend Warriors. Felix Smiles, your championship leader in Spec 1 first. But Daniel Wood, the Spec 2 driver, cracking result from him. 4th at the moment. Yugmani, leader in Masters, he's 6th overall. So I tell you what, as usual, some strong results from Spec 2 and Masters. Weisslusel as well, 8th overall, the Spec 2 driver. So I think a lot part of that does come from getting your lap timed right with that long start finish race we mentioned, and getting a toe off a car in front of you.
Yeah, I think so. I think what you'll see if you go back and look is you'll see a few of those cars will have the aid of 2 or 3 cars in front, give him a little pull down the front straight. And I will say this: we kind of rewind back to last week. Castro just had a really great race. It was great to see him win. During the season, during the previous season, he had 4 or 5 really strong races where he should have had a podium position at the end, and then just racing luck just ends up, mid-pack, and so it was really good to see him get the victory last week.
Oh, definitely. And I remember saying in his interview, and it just all come together. Like you said, he'd had a lot of bad luck during the series where he'd been vying for wins, and it just all came together, didn't it? Nicely for it. It come together. Ian Gibson, currently in 20th, and Jakeson. But never the best of times earlier on. It was at the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors series from Snetterton. Not sure about Owen Carroll for that one in the commentary booth. And Jakeson didn't have the best of times, going a lot stronger here in the SRF Weekend Warriors. Currently lying 22nd overall, although down on some of his fellow Spec 1 racers as well. We're talking about for the show, that pit lane, Charles, because it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because in the sense of you don't lose a lot of time because it's so short. However, especially on pit exit, the cars are going a lot faster than you, and you come out well before turn 1 as well. It's not like the end of the pit lane just ends into the braking zone. They're still going at full chat. So I'm not sure how this is all going to pan out. I'm really, really fascinated by this one.
Yeah, I think the cars, because of what speed range they are, I think there's a little bit of a little curve in pit entry, but I don't think that's going to be that big a deal for these cars. But yeah, as you were saying, at least we're not funneling out right into turn one. There is at least a straightaway, and maybe helps these guys get back up to speed a little bit quicker. They can just kind of fold into the rest of the racing group. As we see a car going around, Cash Hansen, just a little heavy on the throttle there, trying to get through that section of the track. So yeah, it will be interesting because if you get it wrong, so now you're a car coming out of the pits on about half speed in front of potentially several cars going full chat. And that could be a recipe for major disaster.
It could be. Indeed, as well. Not long left in qualifying at all right now.
Well, as I'm sitting there looking at it, there's actually not as much. There's not as much room as I was thinking there. That might be a little more. That might be a little more difficult than I originally said.
It's one thing is though, it's although you're coming out, the pit lane line ends, close into the braking zone. It's a wide part of the track there. I mean, the track's generally wide anyway. Let's face it. I mean, I'm fascinating. I'm sure we're going to see some 3 wides, possibly even a 4 wide down into turn 1 at some stage or another during the race. Especially off the start, I think that's going to be incredibly tricky for some of the drivers. But yeah, I mean, it's a long run between getting off the pit limiter versus actually, we see from the blimp cam now looking downwards. So there, as we look down at Michelle Verglini, you see just how it really impresses upon you just how long it is. And there you see the white line there on the pit exit, just at the end of the pit wall. And then you've got quite a long run, haven't you, to get yourself back up to speed? But look at the closing distance between himself and. I'm not too sure that. It might be Andres Bertoni, I think, potentially there. Yes, I think it is. Who's just coming out of the pits. You can really see the speed differential between the 2 cars.
Yeah, absolutely. And then immediately once you're past the pit lane exit line where you can blend over, now you're basically in the braking zone, and and you're offline. So you're basically in the braking zone at a narrow angle for turn 1, which may make that very tricky.
Well, definitely, especially with these cars. I mean, I took it out earlier on today, Charles, and this car does not like trail braking, or at least in my appalling driving standards, found it that way. And well, that's you're just showing there. I'll tell you what, Joshua Justice, just how much speed you can carry into that pit lane. I thought that was going to end up being a bit of a mean ram it into the wall, but no, really carry a lot of speed in there, full commitment, getting a little bit of practice ready for the pit stops. Of course, 40-minute long race, the driver will have to take a pit stop at some stage, which makes it a little more tricky. An extra bit of spice to the dish that is the SRF Weekend Warriors, as the drivers always have to pit. And I've always shakes things up a little bit and keeps us guessing, especially with such a big grid here, Charles.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so based on the lap times, we're looking at about a 21 lap race. As we talked about, it's Easter Sunday, so Mr. Stevie Ray himself is not in the event. Spending time with family, which is always good. So we'll have to find out who our first pit stop warrior is going to be today.
Yes, definitely will be. As see Bertoni parking up in the pit lane, one of the drivers just opting to have a little bit of pit lane entry practice right at the end of qualifying. As I think we are all pretty much done this. No apologies. Just waiting on Jason Green there to come across the line, and then we can head across into the race session. And well, starting from 10th, I think stand at the moment is Green. We can improve here, but I don't think he's going to be able to. He's not looking like the best of starts for laps for him. It remains to be seen. And well, got a bit of big accident earlier on in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors, and it was vying for top positions. And if it hadn't been for that, I think he would have finished on the podium. Looking for a bit of redemption now. What can he achieve here at Fuji? It's going to be fascinating to see.
Yeah, indeed. This may end up being like an oval race in a sense that you may make up 2 or 3 spots at the end of the race just drafting down the front straight.
This is what's really playing on my mind, Charles. Of not knowing how this one's going to pan out, but here is a grid for round 4 of the SRF Weekend Warriors, presented by RaceVoice. Panero starts on par with Dudu Castro alongside him. Felix Miles has Daniel Wood for company on the second row. Let's see Wood there, the top qualifier. Ian Spec 2 so high up in the standings. Plever has Gaspers for company on the third row. Yorgmani, highest qualifier in Masters. That's Dan Vandro Dantas for company on the fourth row. Top 10, that's rounded out by Vauxhall and Green. Another of the Spec 2 drivers inside the top 10, 2 of them. Great to see that. Row 6, see Steve Alton lining up alongside race winner from earlier on this evening, for those of you who caught it, in the Formula Ford's Weekend Warriors Series. Thomas Renders. Row 7, that sees Alberto Pellegrini alongside Max Colpert. Jim Brewster has Ellen McCain for company. Row 9 is Kurt Nunes and Aaron Vagel. I think I've said that right. I'm sure you'll correct me in a second, Charles. Tom Gradwell, he's got Ian Gibson alongside him on row 10 and rounds out your top 20. Andrea Fafini, he has got Jeff Jacobson company. Steve Mitchell alongside Tim Van Dormelen on row 12. With row 13 being made up from Andrew Love and Mike Knudsen. Jeff Wubka has used Simpkins company with Hanson and Bradshaw going to run out your top 30 in row 15. Joshua Justice has got fellow American Gary Walbolt for company on row 16. Row 17 is Paul Jackson and Michelle Verdini. Andreas Bertoni didn't set a time in qualifying. He starts 35th alongside Flavio and Darlo. Fascinating to see how those two Spec 1 drivers come through the field. Jeff Horniak did not set a time. He starts on the last row with Gustavo Ariel, who I'm not sure is going to join the race. Didn't set a time in qualifying, which is unlike him. And I think he's missed the grid. So there we go. Lights are on. I don't think he will be starting the race. So 37 car grid here from Fuji. This Porsche 911 safety car gets them away. It's going to come out on top. Wow. Castro is just really backing up the pack. And Panero opening up this, he's 1.8 seconds clear, and Castro's caught a little bit napping there, and the whole field's going to have to bunch up very, very quickly. Heading around the back of the circuit here at Fuji. It's coming through into the final corner. But how is Panero going to play this one? Go early, go late, remains to be seen as the lights are off on the safety car. Rounds the final corner. There is Panasonic. It's going to pull in. Well, let's say pull in shortly. It's quite a bit of a run to the pit entrance here down the start-finish straight. So you see, it's already still out, the pace car. Wait for that to pull in any second now as the field all bunch up. Who's going to come out on top? On the run down to turn 1, Panero backing everyone up. Safety car is in now. So we wait for the lights. Let's get ready to go racing from Fuji as Panero goes, and we go green, we go racing. And who is going to take turn 1? Well, it looks like it's going to be Panero as Castro and Samaus go side by side. They're 3 wide, they're 4 wide in the background there as they come across the start-finish line to take the green flag. And everyone just fanning out. 3 wides are plenty. I can see at least 3, maybe 4 of them in the background there. And everyone making it comfortably for now through turn 1. And then we head down through turn 2 towards Coca-Cola corner. The first challenge for our drivers on these cold tyres here at Fuji. It's as tight as you like as Elson getting stuck in really well there to Thomas Renders. As Renders just slotted in front of him. And already just looking through the field. But Tony's men at 3 place. Tim Van Dormelen, a great start from him. He's already at 4 places. Dantrux has another good start. He's down 4 into 12. So we snake through the complexes now through 100R. And just everyone finding their sort of feet at the moment through the hairpin. And just winding the car so that, yeah, already through the hairpin. Apologies me. mistaken where we are out on track and building up the pace, building up the momentum. As we head through 300R right now. There is Bertoni. Let's see, flying as mentioned up 4 places. Likewise, is Van Dormelen in 20th. Bradshaw had a good start. Oh no, he's run it in too deep. Just see him in the background there. In that green, white, and orange striped car. Well, after that cracking start, falls back through the field. The start he would have hoped for whatsoever. I'll tell you what, as well, Flavio Andalo, sat on the back row with Bertoni. He's had a good start too. He's up into 31st.
Well, that was a good start. Yeah, it looked like everybody got away fairly cleanly. We had a couple of slow cars. Made it 4 wide very early. And, of course, then, standard SRF practice must go 3 wide at some point in time during the race, which they got that taken care of as well. So, yeah, it's a good start. Got a couple of movers early, and we'll just kind of see how the rest of this kind of pans out here.
Clever all over the back right now of Gaspers. He's had a strong start as the German. He's picked up a couple of places in these early stages. Equally, you can see that top 3 starting to get away from 1.5 seconds. The gap between Samaus and Gaspers, 3rd and 4th respectively. They all stream down towards Coca-Cola yet again for the 2nd time this evening. Everyone, it seems to be relatively, I don't know whether it's because it's Easter Sunday, Charles, but everything seems to be relatively calm, and normally you don't see this calmness until the midpoint in the race.
I would absolutely have to agree with that. Yeah, maybe it's just the fact it's a little bit smaller grid. It's like it doesn't feel like, and it's an enormous track. So there's plenty of room. If you make a mistake, there's plenty of room to kind of get out of the way and reset. So you don't have that kind of mentality like we had last week with Summit Point, where one mistake and you potentially take out several cars.
Definitely. As well, Wood not having the best of starts. Starting on the 3rd row, drop down through the field. You see Joshua Justice making a move here, and that's going to get him back up in the 31st. As Jeff Woodker, he's heading past us. See Bertoni just pushing his way through there, trying to get a move done. That's on Mike Knudsen. There's always a spinner ahead of them. They all scatter around. And that was Tom Gradwell there. Another shot from him. He's normally so consistent. Don't tend to see a mistake out of him.
Comes up the replay. Let's see what we got here. See Gradwell.
He's in that 909 machine, Charles.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, it's those little sausage curbs on the edge. Basically, it's the what we call the wake up curbs. That's not where you need to be, and they will absolutely wake you up if you hit one of them.
I tell you what, it's almost like NASCAR, isn't it? These 2 definitive lines down the start-finish straight with people drafting one another.
Yep.
Oh, wow, that's a bit of fuel saving going on, and well, what better place to do it down the long start-finish straight into turn 1. Andres Bertoni now up 11, and we're just out onto lap 3. We normally see fast starts from the Uruguayan. Yet again, proving to do it well. I mean, Cesare Flavio Andalo started on the same row as him, and Darlow's only made up 8 places. I say only 8. That's not bad at all. But it's not quite as many as the 11 of Clever, who, I think your Marnie's had a bit of a mistake up ahead.
I think so, yeah. He's down to around 20 at this point.
I think Alan McCain caught up and to our leader in Spec 2 Championship. So there's Marnie on the 925 machine.
Now to the inside as it switches around, locks up. Oh, he locked up and then tried to hold up to keep from running into the green and yellow car, and I didn't catch the number. And then it was just a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah, which then caused McCain to get into the back of him, and
right.
It's that perennial concertina effect, isn't it? Where nothing you can do, you're just a sitting duck, a complete and utter passenger. And, these low-power cars, they're not the most agile. They're not like an F1 car where you can suddenly just steer out the way very quickly and adjust your line. You get pretty much stuck with it. Especially these things so, with all the weights in the rear of them, it's like a big pendulum.
Vaguely working to the inside there.
Vaguely, there you go. I knew you'd correct me at some stage, Charles.
Yeah.
I knew you would. As well, they're all absolute gaggle of them here. nose to tail, and you see the two definitive lines forming as we're going to go
wide. Yeah, sure.
Oh, there we go. It was going to happen at some stage under racing conditions. It wasn't the opening lap, and there we go. A beautiful move there. Swooping past 3 cars. That was Kurt Nunes, I think, just siving his way through. Great move from him.
And I think based on his position, I think that was the car that was actually in front of York-Monty during that incident. So
apologies, it was Pellegrini actually.
Oh, was it Pellegrini? Okay.
Apologies, you got the you just got that lovely, 2-for-1 deal down into turn 1.
Yeah, he actually he moved out of one draft into another and just kept the momentum going and was able to make the move to the inside. It was really nice.
It's making that low line work definitely. Is I think that's Gibson going to lose a place to Bertoni. Next up for Bertoni is Van Dormelen. Our top 3 there pretty much remaining in an orderly fashion, although it is Samals who has taken control of this race. Panero's dropped a couple. And equally, Gaspers, I mean, he's not able to chisel into that gap. It's pretty much since the opening lap remained at 1 second, Charles. You can see that it's the pace. These top 3 are definitely not hanging around whatsoever. Although I say that, Gaspers has just taken 2/10 out of them all, and he's going to be just about in slipstream range as well down this start-finish straight, although he has just now lost 2/10, so what's right now?
Yeah, I think he's definitely in right at the edge of slipstream. And obviously, he's a former champion of the series, so he knows how to drive the car. So it doesn't shock me that he'll be knocking on the door here very soon of this front 3, trying to get himself to the podium positions.
Unless he hooks himself up into the slipstream with these guys, he's going to get dropped for them. It's as much as there's a lot of corners here, it's still a bit more of a draft track. Like it's like the Camel Straight, isn't it? At Spa, I see Steve Elson bumping across the curbing there. As Wupke and Hansen have both had separate issues, not into the pits though, so the car's still drivable. Lots of runoff here at Fuji. But it's if you fall out of that draft range, then you really end up getting dropped quite quickly. Well, they're saying that Gaspers put out 4/10 out of him, so he's closing. Yeah. Run aboard with Vice.
Yeah, it's a pack of 4 now, so
that's what we wanted to see. Yeah. Definitely. Vital Sushil, because Yusuf were not having the best of starts. He's now 3 places into 6th. He's your leader in Spec 2. As for Masters, Jim Brewster leading the way there. Just finished 6th in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. So you see calling SRF Weekend Warriors. It always catches me out. Ran 6th at Alton Park, so to improve on it there with a Masters win. He'll be absolutely chuffed to pieces with that one if he can achieve that. Although that is Kurt Nunes behind him, fellow Masters driver. So under a lot of pressure, not safely. He's definitely not got a, he wants to have a car or 2 between them as we see our top guys swapping around. So Castro had got ahead of Samals, who then returns it, and I think we're seeing it, aren't we, Charles? That's sort of where we spoke about it in the build-up. You drop behind the car, and then you can get back past them by the time you reach turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely. As I saw also Daniel Wood in the pits right at the 10-minute mark. I don't know if that's his game plan or not, but
it's just about in pit window territory. It's incredibly early.
Really close.
I think he's had damage. Be interesting to see how long he's actually stopped for, but I get this sneaky suspicion he's carrying a bit of damage because he'd lost about 4 places off the start. And obviously then lost the lead in Spec 2 to Vice Lusil. So, yes, I get the feeling that might well be damage invoked. And he's stationary for quite a few seconds as well. Still stationary, in fact. No, sorry, that's Jason Green, apologies. He's had a bit of an issue. So he's back out. No, I think he's retired the car, has Green. Shame for him.
Yes.
Wow, and that's what a car without a front bonnet looks like.
I believe that you're absolutely correct. And that's Alan McCain? Yeah.
Yeah. It is indeed. And well, he had that contact early on with Yogmani, didn't he? Coming into, well, a few corners ahead where they currently are. Now, they're through Dunlop. Turns 10, 11, 12. This little complex here. And it was into Nets quarter 15, wasn't it? Where they all sort of Marley had to check up, and McCain then made contact with him. However, I think he's just used to. Oh, and it nearly happens once again.
Yeah, they're really battling. It's just a couple of cars that are just, evenly matched in side by side battles. I think McCain's probably just looking to try and get to that pit window. So okay, if I can just hang on to it, then I can get to the pits early. I can get my service, and I believe they have a fast repair if I remember correctly, so he can reset the car and get back out there and hopefully pick up some spots because obviously it's very early in the race still. And I just want to say that Nunez has passed Brewster for the Masters class lead, running P11 and 12.
As well, Bertoni up 20 spots, Andalo up 16. They're your highest climbers by a margin as well. Next to third place in the highest position gain goes to Andrew Love and Hugh Simpkins, sharing that on 11. As Bertoni dispatches vaguely, and also then Love in incredibly quick succession. In fact, Love losing place to Vaguely as well there at 2. So not the best complex of corners there for Andrew Love. Still third in Masters Days. He's still on the podium in that category. So not all lost. And also Bradshaw, his closest rival, fourth in that part of the championship. So still got plenty of cars between him. 16th and 22nd between Love and Bradshaw, respectively. We see Evandro Dantas. And, well, this group's really sort of dropped away now. They're 6 seconds behind Renders, who's in 7th. Dantas has got a queue forming behind him, hasn't he, of 5 cars?
Yeah, he really does. I'm not sure. Dantas is usually, like I said, we're used to seeing him at the sharp end of the field there. So maybe he's just struggling a little bit with this track, and maybe just didn't get as much practice as he might have wanted to. But yeah, it just seems like he would be, like I said, normally one of the front runners for this. And this he's getting as the freight train is coming by.
Well, they're going to make it 3 wide down into turn 1, although they might all have the moves done. Are we going to even try to make this 4 wide, guys? Onto the brakes we come. I'm going to swoop down and take through as we see. Well, Dantas doesn't lose 1 place, doesn't lose 2, doesn't lose 3. In fact, loses 4 in that little exchange there. Actually, 5. He's at the back of it. So no, it is 4. Apologies. So many he's lost there in the run down to turn 1. Not what you hoped, however, sitting in the back, not necessarily the worst place to be right now. As, evolving and changing. Also, Samals has got ahead of Castro for the lead. They've swapped around up front, and pretty much no tail as well. Just see Panero having a good look at Castro here, and I think that's going to be the move done on the brakes down into Dunlop. And nicely done, David Gaspers, who, looked like he might be dropping off the back of his group, made up the time, and has not hung around in time to pick them off one by one. Past Panero and now past Castro up in the second.
I'm going to say I don't think the passing is done with this group just yet. I think there's a few more passes yet to be made before this is all said and done. And that going back to the Dantas thing, he just. I really looked very closely at his car. It didn't look like there was any damage to it at all. As a matter of fact, I think the one that was in the lead of that pack, maybe Renders or something, if that's who it was, and we'll make sure I get the right numbers. But it looked like he had a little bit of front end damage. But so like I said, it's just kind of odd. That's not normally something you see from Dantas.
Marco Panero, it's his turn to make the lunge past Castro. Past Gaspers, although Gaspers fights back, does not make it comfortable for the Italian, but he is through. Smells just able to open up a nearly half a second advantage as Cloppert into the pits. And Charles, I think it's just had a little look at the barometer here, and although it's 22 degrees ambient temperature, track temperature all the way up at 41 degrees Celsius. That's around about 108 Fahrenheit, I believe. It's incredibly hot.
That's very
temperature.
hot. Yeah, that is very hot. And I guess we go back and look at Suzuka. Suzuka, it doesn't matter what time of year it seems when you go there, the track's always hot. So it really doesn't surprise me, but that's a pretty big gap between air temp and track temp.
It is it's nearly double, in fact, isn't it? It's only a few degrees Celsius off being double. You see Bertoni now trying to pick off a Vini. He'll make it 23 positions gained. But Flavio Andalo still holding on to the second place honours of position gains. He was at 16. Hugh Simpkins at 13 now. So he's picked off a couple of more drivers. Great to see from the Dutchman. As that is, well, I was going to say Bertoni going to go ahead, but no, elects just to sit behind Favini, and it's getting more and more of a challenge as Andrew. Something's happened to Andrew Love. I think he's had a bit of an excursion. All the way down in 18th overall. Still third in class, though, for him. Still holding on to that third place in Masters, so not all lost, but I mean, this is the tricky part, isn't it? You feel like you're tripping up over the car in front of you. However, you know you've got the long start-finish straight coming. I think it's where it comes down to that final lap that it gets interesting. It's getting interesting. Panera's just made his way past the miles for the lead.
Yeah, and we'll keep doing the references to the big oval tracks. Is do you want to be in first or second when you get to that last lap? Because I'm not sure. I think at this point, those four cars, any one of those four, I think when it's all said and done, will be in contention. They may go four wide across the line. You just don't know at this point.
And it's not like Monza where you've got a lovely run out of Parabolica, but the finish line is comes at you incredibly quick and fast. Here, it's a good long run down to that start-finish line. So it's not all done and dusted coming out of that final corner. Going to be fascinating to see when we get there. We're not too far off half race distance. As you see, Jim Brewster, Kurt Nunes actually battle for the lead in Masters right now. Evandro Dantas tucked up right behind those two. As you see, Bradshaw, Mitchell and Walbot here. This is the battle for 21st free Masters drivers, all scrapping away for fourth in class. So you run through the standings. Panaro leads from St. Miles. Gaspers third. There's Castro, Elson, Vaisusil, your leader in Spec 2. Renders, Nunes and Brewster first and second in Masters. Dantas going to round out your top 10. And as for your rest of your podium as well, it's Vaguely in 14th, second in Spec 2. Simpkins, he's holding on to just about for the moment the last podium slot in Spec 2, and well, Love, as we've just mentioned, that long train that starts at basically Jeff Jacobson in 15th and ends all the way down at Knutson in 20th as Castro just sneaking his way past Gaspers, and Gaspers, well, after going to the front, has now gone to the back of this group.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder if he was just testing the waters a bit to see, okay, where do I need to be at the end of this race as Bertoni's coming into the pits, giving up all those spots he gained during the first half of the race.
Very early pit stop from him. Interesting, that one. Maybe feeling like he's being held up a little. He's one of the drivers that seems to run it in as deep as he possibly can in terms of fuel utilisation, but to stop at the half race distance mark, that's a little bit early from the Uruguayan by his normal standards. But the drivers that had pitted so far, that's going to be between Wood and Bertoni as to who comes out and is going to be leading that one. So it's going to be, well, incredibly close in the run down to turn one. There's Bertoni moving out and just keeping an eye on to the right. There we go. There's Wood. So he is well ahead. Woodcourt and Justice out in front of Bertoni. You can really see that speed differential and just how much time you're able to make up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so now you're coming out, and we didn't even think about this, but you're coming out now with full fuel. And these cars have already kind of burned off at least half to 2/3 of a tank. And they're still running out. They're still out there with hot tires. Yours have cooled a little bit. So, yeah, it's just, I think there's going to be drama there, but I'm hoping not. I'm hoping it's just a nice, clean clean race coming out of pits, but we'll see.
Looks
So
like
another pass for the lead.
You know, there's certain things in life, death, taxes, and that these are going to keep swapping place down the start
for
finish
sure.
straight, hasn't it?
Yep.
So we now see Pinero lose that to Castro as the Brazilian sneaks his way through on the inside and gets the move done before they've even reached the braking zone. He's that confident on it. And that's how powerful it is here. And Gasper still remains at the back of this group.
Maybe Gasper's maybe fuel saving a bit. Maybe he thinks he can gain a little second or two during the pit stop. And if he can do that, then hopefully he's got enough that he can break that draft, and they don't gang up on him. But that might be a little strategy play there, just kind of hang back in fourth place.
So that's Flavio Amtalo. Well, what was going to say past Jeff Jacobson, but runs in too deep. And the American, beautiful little switchback move there to reclaim 10th place. Santalo up 20. It's not really 21, but Jacobson just snatching it back away from him there. And wow, Love sitting pretty there in the Masters. Some nearly 7 seconds clear right now of Stephen Mitchell, who's currently lying 4th in class. So he's got time on his side. That's Mike Newton ahead of him. Someone, wow, I haven't seen too much of this season. Great to see him out of track on the 383 machine. And talking of great to see, is this a falling battle from Brewster's back to, well, vaguely all the way in 13th.
Yeah, it's a nice little pack there. You got P2, the trail of this pack, P2 and Spec 2, and you've got the two Masters class leaders leading the front. They've been swapping that position back and forth as we see the car on the outside there.
I'll tell you what, it just fascinates me how close these drivers get to one another, isn't it? It's constantly back forth as Steve Elson into the pits. He's elected to go just after the half race distance. This has been a change up from Gaspers has gone from 4th up to 2nd. Interestingly, down the start-finish straight, clearly feeling like maybe Felix Samal's just getting away a little bit, starting to control this one, and the German needs to go move himself up in this little group and start applying the pressure to Smals and try and force a mistake out of him. Is he breakable, Smals? That's the big question. And I mean, what we've seen him so far, Charles, is the reason why he's leading the Spec 1 Championship.
Yeah, the answer to that question is no. He's just when he's up front, he's really in control of the car. He just, from the season plus that I've been calling, he's always up there, and it usually takes an incident for him to not be at the sharp end. So it usually takes a very rough and tumble battle with another car to see him not up front. So no, he's not going to give that up without a major fight.
No, but the gloves are fully going to come off, aren't they? And you might even, as we're in Japan, probably compare it to a bit of a sumo. Someone will have to sumo wrestle it off for him. I think that lead. Although sitting out in front, everyone sitting in the draft behind, certain that there'll be fuel saving as well. He's punching out a great big hole in the air for them, and is he gonna? I mean, this is going to be interesting to see. So 3 tenths was the gap. So they came out of the final corner. We're going to run all the way down now to the start-finish straight. And can they catch up to him? Well, that's interesting. That's not full throttle, Charles.
No, it's not. That just me. Yeah, he's just riding around. I think he realizes that. Oh yeah, he's big time fuel saving. So yeah, he's thinking, okay, I've got to do something to shake this up, and because if we're at four, in this pack of 4 at the end of the race, it's even money on who's going to get the checker. So, I thought that might have been a little bit of strategy that Gaspers was kind of playing to see, okay, can I save myself a second or two of fuel in the pits? That might make the difference in the race.
Just begging the question, though, Charles. Why Felix Maz maybe hasn't pulled his car across to the right, coming down the start-finish straight, and just let everyone by?
because I think they would just basically move to the right with him. I mean, yeah, and he hasn't led the entire race, so we saw Panero
True.
up there also, so
Very
he might have already done the fuel saving that he thinks he needs to do for the end of this event.
It's going to be. It's a really fascinating conundrum that's being played out right now, isn't it, between all of our drivers up front. In terms, so Wood is currently leading of the drivers that have pitted, so our leaders will come out in front of him, at least anyway. So that is something that they have got in the bag right now, but will be incredibly close between them all. I mean, as well, do you go early, maybe? Oh, hold on, they're moving towards the right. We're going to see everyone entering the pit lane all together. Oh, they're all playing games, and Felix Samals is coming in. And Gaspers, Castro, and Panero carry on. They all made out like they were going with him. Mind games. Strategy, it's all happening, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So now Panero's just hoping that he gets behind somebody who's got a little bit of pace so that he can maybe pull a draft and run some really good laps as these guys are still going around.
So that's somehow pit lane, clearly, when you're going that much slower, you do lose a lot of time, don't you? It's not very long in length. And so the key one for him is Daniel Wood, who came into the pits. Also coming in is Dan Tassa and Hugh Simpkins. So there is Samal. So he's coming back out in 12th place, and I think he's going to have a nice little pocket. Well, technically a nice little pocket, but he needs to catch up to someone coming down that start-finish straight. So then start slipstreaming with them, although Mike Knutson just behind him. So that's where Samals is going to want to have him. Cleared him, dispatched him as quickly as possible. I think it's just hammer time now for the Portuguese driver.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, he needs to get up to Love if he can, and try and get that toe, which seems like that's possible, right? I mean, he was running really well. Obviously, he had the pace to be up front, so should be able to pull that gap a bit. Yeah, and I think Wood is in a spot for a really, really good finish here. Even though he was the first of our pit stop warriors, he's in position for a really good result if he didn't come in too early. I think that was the key to that one.
I mean, at 10 minutes you can make it. They're peeling off one by one.
They are.
Panero didn't fake it whatsoever. Castro followed him long. I mean, I'm sure Slipstream definitely playing a part of it. What happens between these two? Panero up the inside of Castro, going for the lead here. Clearly, they're thinking it's hammer time, right? They know that Felix Samals has been into the pits. They know he's had the hammer down for this lap. What has he managed to achieve? And how much fuel saving has Gaspers managed to do? I'm seeing in the back of that group for so long, and in the middle of it. Where is he going to come out as Andrew Love into the pits? So, there comes Felix Samals. Coming along at full chat. Not sure that Gaspers has done enough here, Charles.
I don't think so.
This is going to be very close. Very close. Onto the brakes they come, and Gaspers emerges just in front of him.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what. At least I think that's what Samals wanted, right? I don't necessarily know about Gaspers. I think he was hoping to get it, but his pit stoppage time was only a half second faster. So, and the overall pit lane time was up about a half second as well. So, it's exactly what you kind of expect. It came out about 2 or 3 tenths ahead of Samals, and so it's game on for the rest of the race.
Now, what have these two managed to achieve? That's the next tricky conundrum to try and work out for us and keep you in the loop with exactly what's happening out on track.
Let's see. Here's the question: Are they gonna pit together, or are they gonna pit separately? I kind of feel like they need to pit together.
Here we go.
Yes,
Into the pits they come, and is it going to be together? No. The big fake there from the Brazilian. Didi Castro carries on one more time. So, Panero's in. Gaspers and Samal, still only 2 temps separating them. They're coming around, about, I think, Net's corner at the moment. There they are. Oh, no, apologies. They're a bit more further around, I think. No, that's Castro, isn't it? Apologies. Fleischuzel in from the lead in Spec 2. Renders in 2. Likewise, Brewster and Nunes. These two battling out for the lead as well. Battling out for the lead side by side. Go Samals and Gaspers still sat stationary as Panero. It feels like an absolute age. He gets going again. Right, where are the other two? There they come at full chat down the start finish straight. And has Panero done enough where Gaspers did? Yes, he has. And then more so, I think he's bagged a whole heap of time. Yeah, nearly a whole second, Charles.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Based on that, if Castro has the in lap of his life, he's done this.
I think you're right. So Panero's pit stop time was 2 seconds less than the other two drivers. Or, I'm sorry, 2 seconds less than Samaus. Second half less than Gaspers. So that's given him that that little bit of an edge, but you got to kind of wonder. This is why I was going to say when we're talking about Castro pitting with him or not, Castro and Panero, that we've been talking about comparing this straightaway where they're doing drafting like an oval track. In an oval track, you want a partner on pit road because that gives you an instant draft partner coming out of the pits. In case you're separated by some stretch, by some reason from the rest of the group, you've got somebody that you can draft with.
So, Castro is in. Has he done enough? Well, based on how it's all panned out so far, the overcut seems to have worked an absolute treat so far. It's surely got to be advantage towards him. As our following group, Favini, Panero, Samals all exit the final corner out of Panasonic, down the full start finish straight at full chat. And there he is, still stationary. Dudu Castro not moving yet, the clock ticking. And, oh, no, well, he's stationary longer than all of them pretty much as he gets going once again. I don't think he's done enough here, Charles, as here come the following group. I think he's coming out in fourth. Yes, he is. They've all cleared him.
Yeah, and worse yet, he's about a second and a half behind them now. So it's unless he can get up to speed very, very quickly, it may be very difficult for him to hook back onto these front three. Although I say that they're not quite as tightly packed as they were before the pit stop. So maybe that will help Castro.
Maybe. I don't. Well, I think the only thing we know that this is not done and dusted as much as we've got. 5 minutes 50 seconds left in this race. As that is Andres Bertoni cam up to 7th from the back row of the grid.
Yeah, what a great run.
28 places. 28 places.
That's a great run.
I mean, on a Saturday night, I cover the Formula Renault 3.5 Championship here on Apex Racing TV. The maximum grid size on that is 25.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh, here comes Cash. Manages to avoid him.
There.
Wow, and a
that
big mistake
curb on the inside of the corner again.
Is that what he called, Charles?
Yeah, it is. It just threw him up in the air.
From the lead,
see it right here.
Panero.
Yeah, right there. Oh,
wow. Pushing so hard, and everyone scattering left, right, and centre to avoid him. That's really bunched up Gaspers and Samals. And Castro has lost a whole heap of time where he had to take evasive action. He's now dropped some, 2.2 seconds behind them. So what was a 4-way fight for the victory? Now looking like a 2-way fight. Two gladiators of this series, two titans of the SRF industry, scrap it up for victory. And then we've got Panero versus Castro, who's going to pick up that last podium place.
Yeah, Panero's pushing really hard now. And, I always tell my team, hey, don't make a mistake trying to correct from another mistake. So you got to be very careful once you've had a spin like that, because honestly, you don't really know if the car's damaged or not. I mean, it could have some under tray damage, so it could be a little lower on aero. But now I think what they need to do is those two that are in position 3 and 4, before with just a couple of laps left in the race, they need to be working together at least for this lap to try and see if they can get back to that lead group before they start fighting amongst themselves.
Well, I mean, the clock is ticking down, Charles. I mean, by my
it is
guesstimates, we've only got, I think, 2 more laps left. It's going to be close, isn't it?
I think you're right. Yeah, I think it's 2 laps, and it may be too late. So it may be just who's going to get first and second, who's going to get third out of that second group of cars.
Say that. I think they're giving it their damn best, aren't they, right here?
They really are.
On this Easter Sunday here on Apex Racing TV. Gaspers leads from some miles. Wow. Nearly into the back of him there. It's like Gaspers had to check up almost.
He hit the curb on the outside of Panasonic there. So he hit another one of those sausage curbs. They're starting to become a problem. I don't know if it's just tire wear or they're just pushing really, really hard. But there's a couple mistakes jumping in there.
I think it's that track temperature from earlier on. It's dropped down to 38 degrees now from 42 earlier on. However, well, you can see here onto the brakes. That's so Panero ahead of Castro. Gaspers is ahead of Samaus. But that gap has shrunk by about 0.4 of a second. And looking at the timer, yeah, they've got this lap. Then we're going to take the white flag, which is going to mean 1 lap left to go here from Fuji in Japan. And well, it's looking like 2 separate dogfights. Straight. First,
does.
second, third, and fourth.
It does right now. So, things can change. It just takes another little simple mistake with those front 2, and we're talking about a completely different race.
So you head through 100R. It's not done and dusted down further through the field though. As vaguely Nunes trading places there. Nunes needs to be careful as he's already got a 3-second advantage over Jim Brewster in the battle for victory in Masters. But Nunes just backing out of it, maybe starting to think sensibly now. As much as he's enjoying this battle, he needs that win in Masters, needs the kudos. It's a bit that's your leader right now in Spec 2. Luzil, the Cheshire driver, comfortable. I tell you what, Daniel Wood, considering his issues early on, he lost all those places off the start. He's reclaimed a fair few of them, and I mean, he's still down time-wise, about 7 seconds on Luzil, but that's a great recovery cry from the Mexican to get himself back up in the 6th overall, second in class. They come across the line. White flag's in the air. 1 lap left to go. And who is going to take it? Will it be Samaus? Will it be Gaspers? Samaus moves to the right side of the track, left side of your screen. And Gaspers just backs out of it. What does he know? Does he think he's got another opportunity here? Tucks back in behind. The gap shrinking again to Panero and Castro. They've taken another 4 attempts out of these top 2. But I think it's going to be too little too late because we know Panero and Castro will get stuck into one another. And it's been second the place to be as Castro has a bit of a look there on Panero.
Yeah, and so 2 things. Is second the place to be, and did Panero fuel up enough? Because his pit stop was really short, and so did he put enough fuel in the car? Because now he doesn't have a draft in front, so he's the one that's kind of breaking the air for he and Castro. So is by him running in front, burning more fuel, and is he going to make it?
I mean, I don't know, Charles. I don't know. It just adds to the tension and excitement. I mean, Samaus was stopped longer, but then he did pit by about half a second, but then he did pit a lap earlier. But here we go. Gaspers is starting to line him up. He's starting to position the Portuguese driver to get him where he wants him, to make him vulnerable, to make the attack. But is it close enough? The gap, nearly 4 attempts. Down to 3.5 attempts. It's shrinking to 3 attempts. Gaspers is really maneuvering him around. We're coming around Panasonic right now. And as we head out through the final corner for the final time, here we go. We're going to go side by side, I think, from the race to the line. Who's going to get it? Samals dies down early, and I think he's done enough to get it from Gaspers, but it's what's happening behind them is going to be interesting. As we look back, Castro sets up behind Panero, but I think he might be a bit too far behind as he's going to pull it at the line, but no, it's a tenth behind. Samals takes it from Gaspers. Panero, Castro is how they finish across the line. But we're not done and dusted here. There's still plenty of battles to foot. There's Schlusel, your winner in Spec 2. Congratulations to him. But Tony behind him comes in 28 places up. Wood, second in Spec 2. There's whatever battles we got that's going to run all the way to the line. Well, with a fair few of them here. It's a bit further back than what we anticipate. So they all come across. So, Kurt Nunes, congratulations to him. Winner in Masters. Brewster picks up second. Avegle, he's third in Spec 2. I'm just looking at where's Andrew Love. He's a little bit further down. Oh, Van Dorman, I think he might have run out of fuel. He's just lost a bit of time there. Actually, no, there's Love just catching up to him on the line and passing him out the line there. So Love up into 21st and running out your podium.
Damage. So I think you heard that somebody was out of gas coming across the line.
It's always going to happen. There's always someone who just dices with death. You know, pushes the limits of what's capable.
I mean, that was a yeah, for sure, and that was a great finish. I think Gaspers may have made a mistake. He hit the curb on the inside of Panasonic.
Charles, this one could change. Justice versus Jackson, the race to the line. And I think Justice has just about done enough here and takes it by 600ths in the second in the battle for 30th. Wow, well timed there from Joshua Justice. Sneak that one through right at the end into overtime.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow, listen, everyone has crossed the line now, I do believe. Have a little look through the classified results here. Samals taking the victory from Gaspers. Panero running at your podium. Castro in the end. He comes home in fourth with Thomas Renders fifth. Like usual, 6th overall winner in Spec 2. But Tony, as we said, up an incredible 28 spot. And this closest to him was Flavio Andalu, sat at the back of the grid of him. And he's only up 19. Great drive from the Uruguayan. Wood, second in Spec 2, 8th overall. Then it's Dances, Cloper, Pleaver, Favini, Vaguely, 13th overall, third in Spec 2. Then it's your top two in Masters. Kurt Nunes runs out winner over Jim Brewster's. Usipskin, 16th, then it's Andalo. Jeff Jacobson, 18th, Ian Gibson. Mike Knutson. Andrew Love is then 14th and takes the last podium spot in Masters. There's Brewster, Simpkins, Andalo, Jacobson, Gibson, Newton. I've got myself. I've backtracked on myself there. Where it looks across, trying to get ahead by looking at the other screen, and now I've undone all my hard work there. So Van Dormelen, he's 22nd. There's Mitchell Warbolt, Bradshaw, Gradwell, Elson. Hansen is 28th, with the top 30 being run out by Alan McCain and Joshua Justice, who just pipped Paul Jackson to the line there by 800ths of a second. Rupke is the last driver on the lead lap with Puglini, 1 lap down. Horniak 3 laps down, then into the retirement. We lost Jason Green all the way back on lap 5, Yogmani on lap 2, and Gustavo Ariel did not make the start. Whew. Should you have a little chat to some of our drivers, Charles? And I think we should have a chat to, well, I saw he crept, well, I say crept, raced to the interview room as quickly as he possibly could. We're now joined by David Gaspers. Well, David, what an absolutely fascinating race that was. Second in the end, but, I mean, it could have gone absolutely anyway at any stage of the race between yourself, Samals, Panero, and Castro.
Yeah, I don't think we can really take the first part of a race series before the pit stop because nothing there matters anyways with all the fuel saving. Later on, I had a bit of trouble with my tires because at the start I already lost the draft, so I had to really push to get back in the draft.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was just a bit of a problem in the last section.
Yeah, the track temperatures, we had a look earlier. Near the start of the race, I mean, it was up at 42 degrees Celsius. It must have been a really real challenge, especially through corners like turn 4 and 5, 100R, where you've got that long swooping right-hander, where you need to have plenty of grip, but where it must have felt like driving on ice, especially through that section of the track.
Now the car just gets a bit more understeery with worse tires, so you just go through it slower.
Well, that's a fair comment. You've told me straight there. In terms of the strategy, obviously we weren't expecting you all to peel off one by one. Were you hoping that maybe someone would come in with you so you could draft with them coming down that long start finish straight, or were you just expecting that nobody would come with you?
I didn't want to pit behind someone because of how the pit entrance is, and I was also happy that there was no one behind me for the same reason.
Definitely, but well, congratulations, David. We'll let you go and enjoy the rest of the evening. David Gaspers, who ran out second here today from Fuji. Charles, I can see two drivers sat there. Who would you like to pick as the next driver to have a chat to?
Well, let's talk to the race winner.
I think that sounds sensible.
Yeah.
Now joined by Felix Miles.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Felix, congratulations on the win. It was a very interesting race. I think David said basically the first half of the race was just kind of strategy, fuel saving, maybe some cat and mouse games going on there. So how did you think about it?
Well, hello, good evening,
Hello.
and thank you. Yeah, I totally agree with David. So the first half of the race until the pits, it's just see who can save the most fuel, which sometimes becomes a bit annoying, and that's why I tend to pit early because I'm pushing most of the times. Although in this race, I have to admit, so Dudu also played a bit with me, so we were switching the lead between us, but Marco was just behind us saving fuel. So when it's like that, so I pitted a couple of laps before, then I really had to, just to not help them with saving fuel. That's the reason why I pit a bit early. Then David pitted the next lap, and yeah, the thing is, after we cycled to the pit stops, we were round about the same positions we were. Maybe Dudu was a bit behind. Marco was slightly ahead, and I was kind of happy because I assumed he was the one who saved the most fuel, and he was still in reach from draft. So that so had good chance of winning the race. And then, unfortunately for Marco, he did that mistake and went over those pesky sausage curbs, and his car went skyrocketing. And yeah, I almost hit him, but luckily I went around him. And then was just between me and David. And as David said before, it was clear when following his car that his car was sliding a lot more than I was. So I think, yeah, in the end, in the last lap when I was ahead, he was pushing hard, and he just couldn't hold the car. And this corner 6, I guess, he slid a bit. He lost contact, so he basically he lost the possibility to challenge me for the hairpin. And then exiting the last corner, I think he hit the curb and he lost time. So
Yeah,
then the win was
absolutely.
mine.
He caught the curb on the inside, just kind of pushed the car out. So yeah, it was great for us to watch. And yeah, the Panero thing really kind of changed the dynamic up front because it was looking like it was going to be a 4-horse race there at the end, and it was just going to be, where do you want to be? Where do you want to be on that last lap?
When it's just two people, it's okay. And so that's the thing. Although there is the draft as is a factor, it's not as drastic as you would think, because maybe how the last corner is designed during the normal races during this week, we could see that if you were ahead by like maybe 4/10 would be enough for you to cross the finish line ahead. So and also the way the last corner is, it allows several like different lines. So you can go on the inside and attack, but then you maybe lose a bit on the outside. So there's what I'm trying to say is there's lots of options. It really doesn't matter if you are ahead or if you are in second. Third place and fourth, those would be a bit harder. So I would say to be in the first top 2 positions in going into the first corner for the last lap. Other then yeah, there's possibilities to pass during the lap, anyways.
Well, it was a great race to watch and to call, and congratulations on your win.
Okay, thank you.
I'll tell you what, well, if he's sat there patient, we'll just squeeze him in. We've just about got time to speak to Jim Brewster. Jim, not a bad evening's work, is it? 6th earlier on in the Formula Fords, and then 2nd in class, 15th overall.
Yeah, and the fun part is these both were serious homework tracks. You know, a lot of us didn't know these tracks. That's my first race. That's literally my first race at Fuji, and Snetterton I didn't know, so that was fun. I had a great battle with Kurt Nunez, and he played it smart and did some gas saving. I think took maybe a little bit less, but he left the pits just 2 cars ahead of me, but then got some draft and he got away from me, and I just ended up 3 seconds. So I think we both saw that once Jorg was out, that we knew the Masters title was up for grabs, and Kurt's awfully tough.
Yes, it was a fascinating battle between the pair of you. As you say, there'll be a pit strategy playing in the end. I mean, even so, I'm one of the few drivers who managed to finish where they started. I think actually yourself and Stephen Mitchell. So another slight honour there to yourself.
Yeah, it was a good clean run. I don't think I had too many X's, if any. I don't know. It was clean run. You know, the track's 100 feet wide. You know, I'm just like, you know, it's a little bit of it's like having training wheels. You know, when the track's 100 feet wide. But anyways, yeah, it was a fun day. It's too bad the car count was a little bit low. We didn't have the 58 cars like we had last week, and our same thing with the Fords. But it is a holiday weekend, and these tracks are new. Like I said, this Fuji just came out. This release or last release. So I don't think a lot of people anyway, but I gotta, thank my family that keeps my computers up here and helps me take care of all the pets all weekend. Between races, we yell at each other and say whose turn it is to feed the dogs on Sundays. Sundays get pretty busy with these back-to-back races. And,
well, congratulations, Jim Brewster, 2nd in class, 15th overall.
Yeah, thanks to you guys again. Like I said, we love the work you do. Stevie's working so hard to get all these 4 leagues running, and you guys help out greatly. And it is what it is. I think these are some of the best leagues around, right?
Oh, definitely,
For sure.
Pound for pound, no question about it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Right, enjoy the rest of your Easter, Jim.
You bet. Thank you very much.
Right, Charles. Another weekend, really, wasn't it? In Weekend Warriors.
Yeah. I kind of thinking as Jim was talking about that, it would have been nice to have 37 at Summit Point and 58 at Fuji.
I think so. Yes, definitely.
but this was a really great race, and like I said, as we were talking, it was great to hear their thoughts on strategy during the race, and this is basically saying the first. We talked about comparing it with oval racing. Basically, the first 90% of the race doesn't really matter. It's you just got to survive it to get to the last 10%, and so that's what those guys did, and we saw that some really great racing, a couple mistakes, and which decided the positions, but no major catastrophes, and it was fun to watch all the way down the field.
Most certainly was indeed. Definitely enthralling. Congratulations to Samals, Weissluzel, and Nunes, winners in the classes. Oh, wow. What can we say? It's just been another weekend in the Weekend Warriors. Thanks very much for joining us. I've been Tim Cox with Charles Bushell and Lewis Ryer, and we'll see you in a week's time here on Apex Racing TV.